Welcome, everyone, to another Rivalry Tour episode of Rangers Ed. This is the big one. Today, we're bringing on the boys from Hockey Night in New York, Stefen Rosner and Sean Cuthbert. We're going to talk a little Rangers versus Islanders. Coach Ed is not here because he's in Disney. All right, so everyone, hit him with the comments online. Make sure he's not going to see him, but we'll pass him along. He misses the Rangers Islanders episode to go to Disney. How lucky. But he might join us for a few minutes. We'll see. But we got little Ed here with his Hockey Night in New York hat. I don't know why you're wearing that. Again, you're throwing me off in the intros with the hat. Is this a new thing? Is like a new bit you're doing?
Well, I mean, I figured I'd do it for whatever teams I do have. I mean, spoiler alert, I definitely don't have the Devils or what other team do we have scheduled? I forget. But technically, Penguins. This isn't an Islanders hat. It doesn't say any. What'd you say? Penguins? Yeah, don't have a Penguins hat. Don't have a Devils hat. I do have a Bruins hat. That's a nice hat. But either way, it doesn't say Islanders anywhere on the hat. So I'm just supporting a French show. You know, it's Mets colors. It's Mets colors technically also. It's Nassau County, Long Island color. You know, it covers a lot of bases here.
That's
definitely
not Mets
does not cover the Islanders.
It's not Mets colors.
It is what it is.
It's all right.
I think I won it at one of Sean's shows, so it is what it is.
It's all right. You can support Sean and Stefen,
but yeah, if you wanna throw some shade Coach Ed's way for missing our show for Disney, hopefully he's getting a calf massage or something from a long day of walking. But you could definitely tweet at him at Coach Ed 77 on Twitter.
So, that's right. That's right.
You know, we gotta try and get his Twitter going. Yeah, we gotta try and get his Twitter going this year. Be a little more active, you know, get a little more Coach Ed quotes, maybe some construction videos out there. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's gonna be funny to get Coach Ed on Twitter. We just got to get him active. But anyway, I've been looking forward to this one. You know, this is obviously there's a lot of Rangers fans who are newer fans that I've spoken to who actually don't even consider the Islanders to be, you know, the Rangers' biggest rival, and I don't know how it's possible. But I guess the lack of playoff matchups, the Islanders' relative lack of success, other than, you know, when the Islanders went to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 out of 3 years, that was their little run in the last 20, I think. That's probably it. The Rangers were rebuilding during that time. And now that the Rangers are good again, the Islanders are a playoff team, but they're not making it deep enough in to match up with the Rangers. They haven't just had those kind of matchups. But for me, this is the biggest rival. I don't know. I mean, fans chime in. Who's the Rangers' biggest rival? I see a lot of Devils, Hurricanes as the choice, but I don't know, Little. I do agree. Like Rangers Islanders is the biggest rival for me.
Well, no, for sure. I mean, growing up, I mean, living on Long Island, I mean, it's hard to forget about it over the last couple of years. I mean, it hasn't been as heated. But I mean, looking back at like high school and stuff where both teams weren't that great, it was kind of just like the competition for the worst team in the league at some points. But now it's starting to heat up again. You know, the Stadium Series definitely brought it back. I mean, going to a game like that atmosphere, the ending, everything, you know, that definitely sparked something in New York fans. Islander fans definitely have a chip on their shoulder, I'm sure, from that cold, bitter evening in New Jersey. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I like the rivalry. It's a ton of fun. I'd like to go to maybe a few more games at UBS, see what that atmosphere is like. And yeah.
I saw a picture you sent. You got a lot going on this weekend. It looks exciting. You got to tell the listeners.
Yeah, I mean, you've been pushing it for a long time for me and Lindsay to try to get like our woodworking crafting business going. So we kind of took the leap earlier this summer and just signed up for the craft fair at the end of the summer and kind of just put something on the calendar where we were forced to, you know, get stuff done and put stuff up for sale and all that good stuff. So yeah, this Saturday and Sunday on the Long Beach Boardwalk, we're going to be posting up in a tent courtesy of the Long Beach Historic Society, I believe. So yeah, all the tent proceeds, I guess, are going to that society, and hopefully we sell some stuff. So if you want to come check it out, it'll be a good time. You can hang out for a little bit. We're going to be promoting the podcast. Coach Ed's going to be there selling some of his woodworking stuff, and yeah, it'll be a good time.
Yeah, it sounds fun. It looks interesting. So you guys, if you're in the Long Island area, go there. Long Beach Boardwalk's a great place to be on a weekend. You're running out of time to enjoy it, right? I think the weather's
Yeah,
maybe another month.
another month or two. I think it'll be warm into October, but definitely the summer on the boardwalk. It's hard to beat on Long Island for sure.
Hopefully it's still warm October 12th when I go, but I guess we'll see. We'll see how
The
that
chirps
goes.
are already starting by Gaza and Paul in the chat, so I think this might be a good time to bring on our guests.
Yeah, let's bring them on. They're both here.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, welcome, guys. Stefen Rosner and Sean Cuthbert from Hockey Night in New York. Check them out at Shawnee Hockey. That's Sean, like kind of New York. I noticed that, right? I looked closely.
Sure.
It's like Sean E, like the NY in the middle, hockey.
It's not that deep.
No,
I don't think
wasn't
he
that
meant
well
to
thought
do
out.
that.
No.
And at Stefen_Rosner at Hockey Night in New York on X. They're on YouTube. Check them out, hockeynightnewyork.com. What is up, fellas? Welcome.
What's up, boys? Nice to be back. How's the summer been?
Summer's been nice, actually. Enjoying the break, I don't know. You guys?
It's too fast.
been
I
great.
mean, I'm
It
stoked
flies.
that hockey's around the corner, but just way too fast. Way too fast.
Yeah, I've been on the ice since 12 o'clock today till 6. My legs are shot. I'm working with the Matt Martin hockey camp. Pretty cool. But, dude, I'm out of shape, man. I gotta build that stat. These kids make you run around for hours. So I gotta work on that.
I bet.
Yes,
That's at Eisenhower?
Yeah, it's at Northwell Ice Center. Yep.
Cool.
Stefen, I saw today. I went on your Twitter. I saw you. It says you're a SUNY Cortland alum. What year did you graduate?
Yeah, 2020 during the pandemic. So I actually never officially walked or had a graduation, but I have.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, I got you by 12 years, SUNY Cortland, 2008.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Very cool. Very cool. So
Good
I
times,
just thought, I was
good
like,
times.
oh, maybe we could be friends, actually, at the end of the day.
Of course.
I'm trying to be polite.
For now.
The efforts are appreciated, cousin Ed. I know it's tough. I know it's tough for you.
It is. But look, so I'm just curious with everything going on. I see article after article from you, and I'm sitting here struggling on what kind of content we can release during the dog days of the NHL summer, focusing on my fantasy baseball team mostly. But you keep pumping out article after article, man. So I'm impressed. But like, is it a little slower in this, for you right now than it is during the season? At least you can kind of breathe and enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a lot slower, but it allows you to do creative stuff. Like during the year, it's all reporting and then lineup changes, things like that. But the summer, really, people have struggled with ideas. It's, go with something. It doesn't have to be right. For example, like I know Line A just got traded, but I was working on a 3-team trade that involved the Islanders. How could they make this work? Is it possible? Just things like that. And fans, Islander fans are, Ranger fans probably the same. They love that. Whether they hate it, the article or not, like they're going to talk about it. And at the end of the day, if they're talking about it, that's really what matters.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of fans love to be a mock GM.
Yeah, of
Or a
course.
little in.
I just noticed I'm staring at Sean's hat. I'm like, what the hell is he?
What?
Like,
What's wrong with it? What's wrong with that?
So I was the
What's
nice guy. I wore your podcast hat and actually showed the logo, but you decided to put your logo over our podcast hat.
I don't know what
Okay,
you're talking
all
about.
right.
This is a brand new Hockey Night in New York hat.
I was like, did he write podcast under their logo or something? Like, what the-
There you go. There it
Well,
is.
speaking of the show, Sean, what have you guys been up to on Hockey Night in New York? I see you
Ooh.
got a few interviews been cooking over the summer just to fill some space.
Yeah, we did some stuff earlier on, then we kind of shut it down. This is usually our slow season. We got some stuff percolating behind the scenes right now. We're actually pretty
nice
excited
word.
about that. Yeah, not bad, right? It's got a couple of syllables.
Yeah, he emphasized it too. He slowed it down for everyone. Said it.
Yeah,
nice and
just
slow.
in case. Yeah, Google it, whatever. But yeah, I'm stoked. I'm glad that we're basically a month away from training camp, preseason. We got, like I said, we got some stuff going on behind the scenes. We're bringing on some more people to the team. We're gonna have more coverage of the Islanders and just a lot more content and stuff that we're not exactly ready to start talking about yet, but it'll be coming soon.
Great. Oh, that's
Yeah,
always
Great,
fun,
man.
man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the show is definitely a nice break. We got a comment here from Paul, who's one of our favorite listeners. Just curious, why is your show not named Hockey Night on Long Island?
Because
that's
it's a New York
good
team.
question.
New York
Good question.
Islanders.
Yeah, it's
a New
not
York
the
team.
Long Island Islanders.
No.
That would be kind of weird, right? I guess the
right.
name
Islands.
Islanders. Just...
Or just the Long Islanders, like the Vegas Golden
Yeah.
Knights. It'd be awful. But...
the Long Islanders.
The Long Island.
The sad thing
Why
is
not?
that apparel would probably sell out immediately.
It probably would.
Sure.
With the
where
fisherman
was Nassau Coliseum? Westbury, right? Was it technically?
Yeah.
Uniondale.
Uniondale Islanders. There you go. That's better, right? That's more.
Doesn't really have a
accurate.
ring to it. Doesn't really have a ring to it.
It's more accurate. But anyway, let's
right.
talk a little. Let's talk a little Islanders. Talk last year.
Sure.
You know, we interacted a lot last year as our teams both made the playoffs, right? The Rangers and Islanders both did. So the Islanders ultimately did get a spot. We talked about it during the year. They were fighting for that spot. You were correct in that Philly would fall out. The Islanders leapfrogged up. So kudos to you on that. But the Islanders ultimately fell short against Carolina. So I just kind of want to, where's the Islander vibe on last year? Is it a success? Is it a disappointment? Is it kind of, what you expected? Sean, we'll start with you.
Honestly, it was kind of what I expected, In fact, it was such a roller coaster season, and I know that we spoke to you guys about that in the past. But, a lot of credit to Patrick Waugh for getting in there and kind of righting the ship and getting them into the playoffs. I think that's where Steph and I both thought they were going to be, despite, before the coaching change, until things obviously went off the rails. Lambert just kind of lost the team. Waugh comes in, gets them refocused. And I think a first-round exit, at least for me, wasn't exactly surprising. Was there some hope that they could take the Canes down? Sure. But, if you just look on paper, kind of look at the season that the Islanders had, they didn't even have their true number one starting goalie to play in the series, even though Varlamov was great to replace him. But the Islanders just didn't have the horses to win it. So I think they kind of ended up where they belonged.
Yeah, I think making the playoffs is a success. Like Sean said, where they were at that point when they make the coaching change with Sorokin struggling with their defense all banged up. To make the playoffs in a very tough division where it came down to like 3 or 4 teams can make it in the Eastern Conference, that's a success. But you look at that series against Carolina, blowing leads, all that stuff that plagued this team year after year. Like, this is where you want to see that team take strides and learn from those mistakes. Yet they didn't do it again. They get bounced by Carolina. So ultimately not getting past the first round is a failure. The fact they made that there and Waugh, you saw, I guess, what this team could be like in a full year under Waugh, which should give you some, positive vibes going forward, especially with the additions I know we'll get to in a sec. But yeah, there was definitely much more, there that I think the Islanders were better in a lot of those games, which is something we could say for a lot of the games in the entire year when they blew 25 or 26 third period blown leads. Like, that's the good teams find ways to win those games. And unfortunately for the Islanders, they blew them more often than not. And in the big moment in the playoffs, they struggled to hold on.
Before we move on to the next question, we have a special guest that wants to jump on.
What's up, fellas?
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Coach Ed from
Can you undo that
Disney
first
World.
for me?
We're down at Epcot. I'm going to sneak in 5 minutes.
How's it going down there?
I just had a really thin pancake.
I believe they call that a crepe.
Is that even good? A thin pancake?
Hear what Sean and Steph have to say about their Islanders.
Well, it's good timing by you because we were just talking about Patrick Waugh coming in and being a catalyst for the Islanders making the playoffs. So, Coach, good time to talk about the Islanders coach. What was your impression on Waugh last year? And then we'll turn it over to Steph and Sean. What do you think the biggest difference was between Waugh and Lambert?
I think he expects a lot out of the players. He's that hard-nosed type of coach. And obviously towards the tail end, they almost squeaked in and made a little noise. But my big question is, what do the boys think before I go? All I'm seeing on the internet that I see is how they may not have Matt Martin and your boy for the fourth line.
Zizekas?
Yeah, so this all-star first line for the last 3 years that you never stopped hearing about. Now they're going to do away with them? What's up?
Clutterbuck maybe?
Yeah.
Did he retire?
Clutterbuck and Martin looks like they're not coming back. So
really?
All you heard about was
yes.
list on the team, how the captain wanted them back and that we need them, and now they're just going to let them go. What do you guys think?
I think he's been spending too much time on Facebook.
Yeah, right. The Coach Ed's on Facebook.
Wait till I see you next time, Steph. Don't worry.
His Twitter got everyone. His Twitter, Coach Ed 77.
No, No, I mean, listen, this is a group of fourth line that was together forever, but cap reasons they can't bring him back. And Matt Martin struggled last year. He was injured a lot, which didn't help. Clutterbuck was fine. I'm shocked that we actually haven't heard more teams that were talking with Clutterbuck or that a professional tryout, things like that, because he played in all 82 games for the first time in his career. He was great last year. People put Martin and Clutterbuck in the same convo. I don't think Sean probably agree. It's probably not fair. They all play together, but again, Cal played a full season and played well. Martin again was hurt. So I think if any of them is going to continue their career, it's Cal. But yeah, it's going to be a loss in the room for sure, whether you think it's a country club style or not. Like, those are two guys that have been there for a very long time. Clutterbuck wearing an A, Martin doesn't need an A to lead in by example. So definitely going to be two voices lost for sure.
How come you call Clutterbuck Cal, but you call Martin Martin?
Just a habit. Just a habit. Would you like me to call him Matthew? Is that Matthew Martin and
or
Pascal?
we could call Clutterbuck Pascal. Yeah.
What do you think, Sean?
I think I'm slightly surprised because I think Stefen agrees with me here. I think going into the summer, we were kind of reserved to the fact that Martin probably wasn't going to come back, but we wouldn't have been surprised if they brought Cal back. And to be honest, like, I wouldn't necessarily still be surprised if they snuck him a last-minute contract before the season starts. But because Lamoriello came out and said, "Yeah, it looks like we're moving on," it looks like they're moving on. He wouldn't really say that if it wasn't going to happen, right?
I hope because I feel that that's like a big part of a playoff run, but we'll see.
Well, they aged out. I mean, that's really where it's at. I mean, tremendous people, tremendous guys in the locker room. I mean, that's going to be the biggest loss, especially with a guy like Martin and Clutterbuck. I mean, just guys that were super respected in the room and on and off the ice, and not having that presence is definitely going to change the dynamic of the locker room. But, you know, Clutterbuck had a lot of time on the penalty kill, and the penalty kill was atrocious last season. Not to say it was all his fault, but, I mean, there's nothing wrong with getting a little younger, a little faster. They can only get better on the PK. So, I mean, as much as they'll be missed, I think this is kind of one of those things where you have to tear the Band-Aid off and move on.
All right, Coach. So, what are your thoughts on Patrick Waugh? Because I asked Coach about his thoughts on Patrick Waugh, and then he just wanted to talk about. He came on with tunnel vision on that Matt Martin question.
Get my train of thought, not get that in. But my feeling on Waugh is I'm a fan of that coaching style. You guys know that he's going to get in your face if you do it wrong, and he's going to pat you on the back if you do it right. And anybody at that level who can't handle it, I say, good riddance. That's my opinion.
Yeah, Stefen, is that what you noticed when Waugh came in, that kind of changed a little bit, the accountability?
Without a doubt, they knew what they had to do. Otherwise, they weren't going to be playing. And I thought I personally think they should be fighting for their job every game, whether you're the first guy or the last. So
I asked Stefen if he noticed it in the locker room.
Take "It's a Small World" out of your ears and let Stefen answer the question.
my thing's not working. Unfortunately.
No, Coach, you're doing great. Very much better than expected.
With Waugh on day one, the first practice that Waugh had ahead of their first game was actually a morning skate. The boys it was like little puppies, just got off their leash and training them. Blew the whistle, skated right to the bench. Blew the whistle, was back. It was actually like he was running a junior team, which is what Waugh came from. So immediately the vibe was, wow, practice is not just practice. And I think under Lane, not that players got comfortable, but there's probably a little of that to it, is that they weren't lackadaisical practice, but it was like they were in the Army when Waugh walked in. And a lot of the players responded to it. Immediately, Matthew Barzal coming out there saying, this is the guy. Essentially, I want to play for a guy like this. You saw a lot of players that had been struggling early in the year whip it up. Guys like Pierre Engvall, who at times have been benched by Lane due to lack of effort. I think a couple of practices in, they were doing a drill where, the forward had to open up, get the pass, do something like that. And Engvall didn't open up. And Waugh stops the drill and goes, Engvall, do you know what we're doing here? Do you know, like, take a pass? Yeah. And then he goes, then F and do it. Like, things like that. And it wasn't a knock on Engvall for effort. It was just, this is how we're going to do things at practice. And he made an example of Pierre for sure, but you saw that all the players said, this is how it's going to be. And I think if you ask any player, they're never going to say they don't try at practice, but there was an extra emphasis on, listen, we don't have a lot of practice time. I'm a brand new coach coming into a brand new system. I don't have time to implement everything. It's like, we have to get stuff done in the X amount of time we have on the ice. And then players are like, sounds good.
You have to play and practice with a little bit of fear. It's like that
Yeah.
from the time you're 8 years old to whenever. Boys will be boys, and they have to have that little bit of fear that the coach is going to put them on the line to skate. Otherwise, they're just going through motions. That's what I love.
Yeah, and like I said, when your top guys, Horvat, Barzal, are buying in immediately and loving it and talking so how amazing it is that they have him as the coach, and they all took the blame for Lane getting fired. They said, "Listen, wait, we got Lane fired." They understood that, and Wah coming in, the fiery type of guy he is, if you don't give more than 110%, I think Wah thinks you're crazy because that's all he did as a player was give it his all every single second he was out there. So I think his attitude and the atmosphere and the environment he created immediately definitely showed it's why they made the playoffs. And we'll see now, having a full training camp, under Wah, how ready this team is. It'll be different if he came in at like Lane finished out the year, they fired Lane, then you have training camp. Now they got to learn that style with a couple of weeks to get ready for game one. They got the whole summer to think about this.
Steph, I only got a few minutes, so I'm going to get going before you start answering the next question.
All right, Coach.
Good seeing you guys. Sean, we got to get on the golf course.
Yes, good to see you, Coach.
Coach,
enjoy the playground.
Did you get the autograph book and get like Disney Mickey's autograph in it and collect all the characters' autographs?
We almost got thrown out of the park again. It's on a list.
What are you doing down there?
Just go before he starts. Enjoy Epcot. Geez. Before he says,
What a guy! What a guy!
Yeah, Sean. So I just moving on.
Yeah, sure.
I wanted to ask you, what did you notice as far as when Wah came in? Like, what players on the Islanders really turned a corner? Maybe I know Stefan mentioned a guy like Engvall, who, if you recall, last year's rivalry tour, he just signed like an 8-year deal. I told you he was overrated, and then he was really struggling. He did pick it up at the end, but like, it doesn't have to be him. What players really turned a corner under Wah and really kind of propelled the Islanders to go from a bubble team to a third seed in the division?
The star of the show was Varlamov when he started leaning on him. He was the reason why they made the playoffs. I know you might have been looking for somebody that was out in the ice in front of him, but he really was the difference. Sorokin struggled throughout the year. Everybody expects him to bounce back next year. I think last year was a fluke. I think it was just a tough year for him. And look, they need him to bounce back. But Varlamov was, steady as she goes. He's getting older, but he was excellent. He wasn't, you couldn't compare what he did to maybe peak Sorokin when Sorokin's on top of his game, but he played very well enough to get them on those streaks that they were in late in the season, to get them into the playoffs. And he acclimated himself well in the playoffs, even though they fell short.
I'll add two players to that. Varlamov was a great pick. I would add Kyle Palmieri was their best and most consistent on a nightly basis. Sure. This is a guy that, since the Islanders got him and gave him the contract, he hadn't lived up to it. He was hurt a lot, and in this past year, he plays in all 82 games. He reaches 30 goal mark for this, I think, the second time in his career, first time with the Islanders. And the biggest thing is he's effective when he crashes the net. He was going hard to the net every night. The other player I'd say would be Mike Riley. They got him on waivers after all the injuries. Yeah. And when Wah took over, Wah says there's going to be a rotation. They had Aho, they had Riley, they had Bolduc. But quickly, Riley played Wah's system to an absolute T, gained confidence, and I think Sean would agree, he was their best transitioning defenseman the entire year into the playoffs. And there's, talking to him a couple of times for the end of the year, he's like, I want to be back. I fit this team perfectly. I spoke to his agent around the draft time. He's like, we're working on an extension now, and he gets an extension. I think he's one of those guys that I don't think it's his play that was, lacking at any times during the year. He wasn't there for that long, beginning of December, but he really gained confidence when Wah got here and played his game. We were thinking, how on earth was this guy in the AHL or being healthy scratched ever? Because he's fantastic at what he does.
Do you see Wah implementing any other, I don't know, like tweaking the system or anything like that? Like now that he has a full season as opposed to just coming in halfway through?
Yeah. Go ahead,
Sean,
Steph.
yeah.
Okay.
Go for it, Sean.
I'll go. I think now that he's going to have a full training camp, we're really going to see what he can do. Obviously full marks for the job he did, like we talked about before, for getting them into the playoffs after it looked really bleak. We were definitely, starting to write the Islanders' eulogy before he came in. And, he really stepped it up for them. But look, I'm excited to see what he does with the training camp and what he does with a summer's worth of preparation, right? And, having his meetings with his staff and with the players and just being able to kind of get everybody on the same page and not doing it on the fly. You'd like to hope that it's going to make a huge difference. I mean, what sort of things he's going to implement, that remains to be seen. We got an idea of it, with when he came in during the season, but I think you can't take away what a full training camp will do for a coach and a staff. They brought in Tommy Albaline as well. He's replacing Doug Huda there behind the bench, so that'll be interesting as well. I alluded to the poor penalty kill last season. That's got to improve. So hopefully put a lot of work into that. And the power play was mediocre at best and bad a lot during a lot of portions of the season as well. So, they got a lot of work to do on special teams. I'm sure he's going to give Anthony Duclair every opportunity to be on that first power play. Hopefully that helps. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with the penalty kill now with Clutterbuck being out, seeing if they can add some more speed there. So I am excited to see what Patrick Watt does behind the bench with a full training camp.
The one thing that we noticed at the end, when he took over, is that shots against are going to go down significantly. Under Lane, it was 40-plus shots, and I think Sorokin faced the most 40-plus shots of the season. A lot of that, I think, has to do with his rebound control, and that's timesing one shot by 3. But you saw the shots go down, and I think this is the biggest thing you have to see is how Sorokin responds now. Obviously, less shots means less time to get acclimated, which means you have to be much sharper. And I think Varlamov played well to that under Watt, and Sorokin, who had struggled, again, with the 40-plus shots. Now every shot was even more important, and he struggled to make those timely saves, allowing 2 or 3 goals. And when you face 18, 19 shots game one, it's going to kill your stat line. No one really cares about that, but it's going to make you look much worse. But 2, it's games where the Islanders aren't scoring goals and you're facing less shots now, and it's not high danger shots going in. It's the weaker ones, and that's just detrimental to a team that struggles to kill penalties. His PK save percentage, I think, was one of the worst in the league. I know he struggled in that regard and didn't help. So shots being down is huge for this team. Allows probably for more offensive chances, not being hemmed in their own zone. But if their star goaltender is going to struggle to stop a lot less shots against and not get locked in, maybe he's a better goalie when he faces 30-plus. A lot of goalies are like that when they feel the rubber, they get more acclimated. But, if you're facing 5-6 shots a period, you better stop all 6, all 5, or it's going to be a tough night for you. So I think that's the biggest thing. Because if they could do that and Sorokin and Varlamov are solid there, it's going to probably be similar to what we saw when Leonard and Grice were there, where they won the Jennings, where the defense was locked down, the shots from the outside. And when that happens, the offense gets more time in the ozone, score more goals, and we'll see. But that was probably the biggest thing for me is less shots against.
You got one, Coz? Yeah,
this might be a little bit of a hot take because I know he got killed last year, but no, I mean, you watched Sorokin day in, day out last year. You guys watched every game. I didn't really sit there and watch them, but I tracked a lot of the season. I watched him quite a bit. Was he really that bad? I mean, I looked at his goal save above expected. Not terrible. I mean, it wasn't like he was in the negative or anything. I just think he maybe had an off year for him, but I would go into the season as an Islander fan and still consider that I still have a top 10 goalie in the league here, locked in for a long term. I wouldn't think anything of this. I think more so the Islanders just weren't really that good defensively in front of him. Is that unfair to say? I mean, because he gets killed. I see the Islanders fans rake Sorokin. Last year, he was getting raked. All playoff, going into the playoffs, raked,
I think it's a combination of the two. And also the bar is extremely high for Sorokin because he said it himself, right? Vezina Trophy candidate. I mean, I would say look, it's a perfect comparison. Look at Shesterkin. If Shesterkin had the kind of year that Sorokin had last season, there'd probably be similar grumblings from Ranger fans, right? Like, how come he's not playing to the level that we know he can play to? And he did in spurts. He had games where he was outstanding and played well, but he
had a bad year through December, Shesterkin. He struggled a lot there. Rangers fans are anointing Quick as the number 1 goalie.
We were on their show talking about it.
I remember. The unfortunate thing for the Islanders was that it just went longer than that. Unfortunately, the inconsistency just lasted longer throughout the year. And as Stefan pointed to before, they were getting shelled in shots, and he wasn't getting a lot of help. And Scott Mayfield, it turned out that he was playing on a broken ankle for 45 games before they shut him down. Not that the defense rests on Scott Mayfield's shoulders, but it was just a tough go for Sorokin. And when you have the bar set that high, and when you have a team like the Islanders that is, let's face it, they win from the goalie out, right? They don't have the firepower. They don't, I mean, you even go back to the Barry Trotz years. It's always win by committee, right? It's win by keeping the goals against down. So when Sorokin, when the rails fall off on the goaltending side for a team like the Islanders, is going to be noticeable very quickly, and that's why the losses started mounting. They didn't have the star power to make up for that. They can't get into a goal scoring race with the majority of the league. So if they're not keeping pucks out of the net, you're going to see what happened last season. So it's extremely important that he gets his head back, because I think that's what it was. It had to be a mental thing. By all accounts, I don't think it was anything physical. I don't think there was any sort of underlying injuries. I think he just couldn't get out of his own head, and hopefully, he's taken this summer off to kind of exhale, and hopefully he has a good camp under Wah, and he can put last season behind him and get back to that Vezina caliber goaltending we know.
Yeah, Sean nailed it with the mental thing. I think, especially, we talked about the shots being less, which is a different ballgame, but I think, too, is when you're so used to the defense failing in front of you, you try to, as a goalie, pick up the slack. For example, it's like a guy, wide receiver, making a move before catching the ball. Sorokin's thinking about the second and third save he's going to have to make, or the backdoor play he's going to have to make to get over, but the guy's shooting it instead of not passing it. And then it's a weak shot, short side that goes in, where everyone goes, Ilya, how'd you not save that? But in his mind, he's so used to the defense just failing him. I'm not saying that he calls out his team, but he knows what it was. When he won, was a Vezina finalist, that was him. He had to do everything. First, second, third, he was pretty much the entire D. So I think the overthinking on his part led to a lot of those weaker goals against, because he's just, too much was going on. For a goalie, it's stop the puck, make the first save, and then
that's interesting. Sorry to cut you off, but that's interesting, because I think the perception from non-Islanders fans might be that a lot of Sorokin's success may have stemmed from the Trotz style play, which is more of a clamp down style. But it sounds like even within that system, maybe it was things were breaking down, and Sorokin was again, you guys watch them day in, day out. So I don't know. I did see
and Lambert also pulled the reins back a little bit on that system. He tried to go more offense, and they got some more goals here and there, but they were giving up more because they just became more leaky defensively. And that's not just talking about the six guys in front of Sorokin, but the forwards as well. They just were playing a more open style game that wasn't really translating properly for them. And that's where, Patrick wasn't at Barry Trotz, but he got them into a more defensive minded way of playing, so that they were getting those goals against back down. So it's, Lambert tried to open things up a little bit. It didn't really work out, and it blew up in his face. And we were able to see what Varlamov was able to do with that system in front of him. But unfortunately, Sorokin just didn't have it. Like I said, going back to the mental thing, I think he just was in his own head. He was too far gone by that point, and he just struggled.
We're also talking about two completely different goalies with two completely different styles. Varlamov had success because he doesn't have to overthink. He knows that backdoor goal pass, he's not saving. Like, it just flexibility wise, he's a flexible guy, but Sorokin, we know, is a freak of nature. Like Varlamov, my defenseman has to have that guy. I have to stop that shot. That is my priority. I don't think he's ever overthinking, because he knows what his limits are. He's always strong positionally. He controls his rebounds, where, again, Sorokin, if you're diving all over the place, it's very hard to control your rebounds. That's why I said he faced so many shots in the league, but a lot of it was because shots were hitting him in the chest and going right back up to the slot. When goalies make these highlight saves, usually it's because they messed up in some way. I mean, sure, at times they have to bail their team out, but
maybe not usually, but often.
Yeah. But when you have a bad rebound and then you slide over and make a ridiculous glove save, it's going to be on a Sports Center top 10, but that's because you didn't make the right move on the first save. So I think,
or you could just do what Shesterkin does and just go like this on every glove save, so that it looks like it's a highlight reel save.
I'm just glad that you recognize that.
No,
I've watched a few Ranger games, and I'm like, did he really have to do that?
Yeah, super dramatic on that one, dude. Like,
fair. Right. When you could windmill it, you have to windmill it. Like, it's the best feeling. It feels good.
Goalie defends a goalie. All right.
I'm just saying, like, if you could make a 6-8. Yeah, two different goalies. I think if Sorokin just looks at Varley's game a little bit and says, you know what, if I could be a little more, not a crazy different game, but be a little more structured positionally, more compact, if he cuts down on his rebounds, this guy's going to have no problem bouncing back. But if it's sloppy, he's going to have a hard time.
And another interesting tidbit is that Mitch Korn, who was the director of goaltending for the Islanders, left to join Barry Trotz again in Nashville, and the Islanders brought over Sorokin's goalie coach. Now, officially, he's supposedly the Sound Tigers, the Bridgeport Islanders goaltending coach, but he's been working with Sorokin, so we'll see if that has any effect. They still have Piero Greco there. He's still the goaltending coach, but there was a change behind the scenes there, so we'll see if that has any effect.
Yeah, we'll see. So looking forward now, what the Islanders did this offseason, I didn't really think they did much, to be honest with you. But compared to the rest of the Metro going into the season, do you think they did enough to at least maintain their position? Do you think they're looking like they're going to advance in the division, or they might fall back? I mean, we'll start with you, Sean. Like, what do you think is, do you think they did enough? I mean, a lot of teams got better in the Metro.
Well, we kind of glanced over the whole fourth line situation. Who do you see replacing those two?
You're going to see some kind of combination probably of, you're going to have McLean in there, Kyle McLean, and then you're probably going to see a battle, if you will, between maybe Simon Holmstrom and Hudson Fasching. I think Simon Holmstrom wins that off the top, but you're probably going to see Cizikas in between McLean and probably Simon Holmstrom to start on that fourth line, and we'll probably see some healthy competition, and you have names floating around there like Wallstrom, who he's a mystery. I'm sure we're going to get into him later. They have some other depth guys that they brought in. We'll see if they factor in, but that's probably what you're looking at.
Yeah, I agree. I think to me, I personally think that Hudson Fasching is a better fourth line player than Holmstrom. Holmstrom was great defensively. Again, he's a younger player too. They probably want him to play. Hudson Fasching, who had a really good year last year, not this past year, wasn't great this past year, so he's not guaranteed a spot. But yeah, I think if to go back to your original question there too, is I don't think the Islanders got worse. They should be better. One, you don't think Sorokin will be as bad as he was. The defense, everyone could knock the Mayfield contract that he got. He's a big body right-handed defenseman that kills penalties and eats minutes. He was on a broken ankle for 40 games. He took a lot of penalties. People were saying,
but even when he's healthy, he's on a broken ankle, that guy. So
to be fair, though, a lot of the penalties he was taking is because he couldn't get back, and make plays. And maybe it's the Islanders' fault for allowing him to play on a broken ankle. They had a lot of guys down. He felt like he had to step up. They didn't really have any much support there on the blue line. But him being back is going to be big. And also, Anthony Duclair is speed. One, he knows how to finish. He played for Patrick Waugh. He brings speed, which is an element that Waugh wants to do. They got him for cheap. He probably could have got him $4.5-5 million. He got, 3.75.
Wasn't he his own agent?
He was, but he hired someone. His first
did?
contract a couple of years ago where he took a lot less than he should have.
Yeah. He's like, all right, sign me up.
Yeah. But this is a guy that has a lot to prove too. He's been on 8 teams in 10 years. So it's a lot to prove. They have this European free agent, Maxim Sipakov, who scored 31 goals in a breakout year in the KHL. He's a major.
I wanted to ask you about him. I wanted to ask you guys about him because he was a big. So if you want to expand on him, he was a big UFA coming out of the KHL. I think every single team in the league would have been interested in him on an entry-level deal, and the Islanders were able to lure him. Number one, I'd like to talk about it from the perspective of what can we expect from him as a player. Is he going to be in the NHL? Number one, which I assume he is. And then number two, how important was it for the Islanders to actually be the winning bidder on this player when all the money is equal, right? I mean, it's not like they can really outbid anyone because it's an entry-level deal.
Yeah, I think you look at one, getting him to come here is huge because, like you said, every team, I think there was 12 or 13 teams, Toronto being one of them, that really wanted him. And every Islander fan complained, we've had 5 or 6 Russians that came over and did absolutely nothing. Correct? But none of those guys, there was no competition to sign those guys. Those were the Islanders going and signing them. This is a guy that shows he could score. He's a big body. He's going to play in the NHL unless camp goes horrifically wrong where he's, he doesn't look like he could even play with any of these guys. But he's going to be in the NHL. He's probably going to play a top 6 role. I think Sean and I both agree. He probably starts with Nelson and Palmieri. Maybe if he plays in the third line and works his way up. But this is a big body guy that likes to crash the net. He's got hands, and he seems like a really strong player. I think I mean this is probably too much for a projection, but if he could give them 20 goals and 20 assists, something along those lines, 30 to 40 points at $950,
that's a win
for 1 year. And if he plays really well, he's still an RFA, so it's not like he can command $8 or $9 million. They have, that's the luxury.
That's pretty high, I think, unless he's on the power play. Is he going to?
Well, he should. I mean, he could shoot. Why not? Right? I guess they don't want. He's never played in the NHL. He's got to ease into that, see how it is. That's why I think if you start on the third line, it's not a terrible idea. Play with.
Well, that's the thing. If the Rangers signed this guy, he'd be on the fourth line because that's how the Rangers do business. So I don't know. Maybe the Islanders are just going to thrust this kid into a power play role, top 6 minutes. That would be, I think, the best thing for them to do to see what they have. Why not?
That's new style.
He probably saw more of an opportunity with the Islanders compared to some of those teams, and they kind of won out that way, right? If he's looking at fourth line for the Rangers or second or third line for the Islanders, I mean, as long as you don't, the location's the same, right? So why not go with the Islanders?
Well,
right, I get it, but I think the hope is he's gonna be penciled in for that second line left wing spot next to Nelson and Palmieri. I think maybe the more realistic expectation, like Stefan was kind of talking about before, is maybe you see him start on the third line to see if he can just, get his feet wet in the NHL, see how comfortable he is. He adjusts to the different ice surface, the speed, all that typical stuff you talk about when a KHL guy comes over. And I think Islander fans are a little reserved about what he might do because they have had guys come from over in the KHL, obviously not of the same hype that he's getting. But, this guy did this year. This guy did that this year. And then he never ends up playing, maybe he plays 2 or 3 games. You never hear from him again. He's going back over to Russia, right?
But to that, I would say, who cares? It's a free asset.
No, listen,
if this kid comes in and busts out, then,
low risk, high reward.
I wouldn't say the Islanders are like, pinning their season on this guy. You know what I mean? Like, if he doesn't pan out, he doesn't pan out. But if he does, and he can, put 30, 40 points up, then all of a sudden you have a free asset, a young asset too. I think he's 25, Stefan, something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's just another guy who can, add a couple of goals to the score sheet and make this team younger, which they obviously need to get.
Yeah, I think it is important for the Islanders. Again, this is a team that, I personally have criticized, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, for being unable to lure players to the team. However, there is this kind of culture there, which is interesting, that once you're an Islander, like, they don't want to leave the Islanders. They want to sign forever and stay. So it's weird. It's like this weird dynamic of just getting the player to the team is difficult. So this is a good, I think, step for them, drawing a competitive market, drawing the player to the team
on a very moderate scale. I mean, how many of us even heard of this guy before all of a sudden he became available, right? But it certainly is a nice little lowercase W to see the Islanders, win the bidding war against, I think it was like 11, 12 teams, whatever it was. Yeah.
It starts there, and there had to have been some kind of pitch to his people, right? I'm sure all the teams were communicating with this kid's agent, and the pitch worked. And I think as an Islander fan, that's a step, and maybe that can translate into real NHL players deciding to sign with the Islanders too, right? So I think that's, a little big of you guys, but also the truth.
No,
I think
absolutely. But it's been slow, but there certainly has been progress in that direction. Even smaller steps, like Bo Horvat signing that extension before he even touched the ice. He could have kind of waited to see what the culture was like, what it was going to be like playing, on the island, yada, yada, yada. But he was like, nope, sign me up. I'm good. And you saw that with Palmieri on a small degree, JG Pajot. So again, it's not like, Panarin, able to go wherever he wants on July 1st, and he signed with the Islanders, but it's still a step in the right direction.
I mean, look at Declare too. I know there was some underlying stuff there with Wah, but he gets a 4-year deal. So he's never played in the Islanders. He gets 4 years there, and he takes less. This is a guy that's not super young anymore. It's probably his last big deal. He'll probably get 2 or 1 year deals going forward, if not extending with the Islanders. Like, he's taking a huge gamble to come. So he believes that this is the place to be. And we'll see if that has that trickle down. Again, Duclair playing well. Wah's a guy that some players may have said, what, I'm not interested in that. Lou and Wah, that's a lot. But players like Duclair, like, some players love playing for guys like that. You talk about a lot of the guys in the league, talking to Islanders when Wah got hired, a lot of texts being like, oh, that's so sick. You get to play with him. They all grew up watching him. So I thought for sure Wah was going to play a huge part. The Islanders didn't have a lot of cap space. But when you talk to Duclair, he said, July 1st, Wah called him that morning and said, I want you to be on my team. And he said, when a coach calls, especially when it's Wah, you're going. So I think for Wah, he knows the kind of players he wants. He's going to go and try to help the Islanders get them. And then it's up to Lou to make it work. And for Duclair, it worked. For Tsiplikov, we'll see. I think the fact that Romanov, Sorokin, Varlamov are there, the Russians, certainly played a huge part. I know Lou hired a couple of years ago a European scout who had really close ties with the KHL. This is the first. Soshnikov came over a couple of years ago. It didn't work out. But this guy personally, I think, had a relationship with Tsiplikov as well, or his agent, things like that. So they got to play well. Like, it doesn't really matter unless they play well. But yeah, like you said, this is slowly but surely, they're getting players to come and even coaches, Albany coming. Like these guys probably had options and they're choosing the Islanders.
Yeah.
So
no,
I hear a lot of names being thrown around up front, but I haven't really heard Barzal mentioned much. We got a hot take in the YouTube chat from Gaza saying that he consulted his crystal ball and he thinks that Matt Barzal is going to be traded by the All-Star break or possibly next offseason. If you guys would care to comment.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a thought.
I've never seen a kid happier to see a coach come and pretty much demand excellence every time he's touched the ice. Barzal was like a puppy, like licking his lips, panting, essentially when you could tell how excited he was. You could also tell Barzal's two-way game. I mean, he said he actually had fun playing defense, led the league in forced turnovers. Like this is a guy that loves the system, that if Wah is able to do that this year with the group a little younger, faster, this is right up Barzal's alley. I don't know why he doesn't want to leave. He signed a long-term extension. He's pretty much going to be here unless the
he's just trolling you.
Yeah, I know.
You don't have to give it like a real response. Gaza, we love you.
Well, if you bring
I was curious. No, I was curious to see what he thought of Barzal going into the season, or what they thought of Barzal going into the season.
I think it'd be different, though, no joke, if they didn't get Horvat, if Barzal was still waiting for a winger and the team wasn't giving him that. Maybe I could see him being moved, not being happy, demanding a trade. Cool. But him and Horvat were off the ice and on the ice together. Like, I think Barzal is more than satisfied. He just wants to win, and he's hoping that the guys that are here are going to get it done.
Gaza 1, Stefen 0 after that one.
I'll take that. I'll take that. I don't know your peeps.
No,
we have some Islander fans that are serious about those kinds of things.
I thought he chimes in on your show.
Sadly, there probably are some Islander fans that actually think that might happen.
The thing with Barzal for me... The thing with Barzal for me is that I can't decide. I put him in the category of player where I can't decide if he is either extremely overrated or extremely underrated. It's like one of those things where it's like some people extremely overrate this kid and act like he's a superstar, elite, like level player, and other people just completely underrate him and act like he's terrible. And he's an interesting player, that's my opinion. Just from talking to people, they either think he's the best or the worst. It's crazy.
I think a way to sum up that line of thinking is that he's an elite talent that doesn't put up elite numbers.
Sure.
He's
this
one
past year, he was, he had his best year since winning the Calder. It's changing for sure.
I'll give you an example, a football example. Back in the day, it kind of reminds me of how people would talk about Eli Manning. Right. So there'd be people who thought Eli Manning was the worst quarterback in the NFL and was the most overrated player in the league. And then there were, people who thought that he was awesome because he won those Super Bowl MVPs or whatever. And it was like, no, the truth is somewhere in between, right? Like he's not as bad as you're saying. He's not as good as you're saying. You guys might not hear the bad comments about Barzal, but there's a large group of Ranger fans that think he's really overrated, like very, very overrated.
What's the knock, though? What's making him overrated? Is it just simply because he's not putting up 110 points a season, or is there some sort of flaw in his game that these people are pointing out? Not to say he's a flawless player, but
from my point of view, and I'm sure Coach Ed will agree, we don't like his style of play, like as coaches. And I know we don't sit down and watch him nearly as much as you guys, but the times that we do see, it's just like a lot of him just skating around with the puck. And Coach Ed always he hates this about players where like when your line mates have to play around you, it's not, you know what I'm saying? Like it's all about his line mates all have to adapt to where he is in the offensive zone, like with the puck constantly skating around. So me personally and Coach Ed, like I said, we just don't like his style of play. I don't think he's overrated. I'm sure he's valuable to a hockey team, but that's why I think he's overrated. Where I just don't like his style of play, period. It's like I'm never going to really like him no matter how many points he puts up.
It's kind of like Trevor Zegras, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
right. A much better Trevor Zegras, I think, but yes, similar.
Yeah. I think Zegras is very overrated, but I think everything with Barzal is expectation. Everyone expected Barzal to be this goal-scoring machine and playmaker, whereas he was never that. And it comes to the NHL, and he is he's a playmaker. I always say this, and not to say that he's the level or like he's the Backstrom and needs the Ovechkin. He's not going to put up Ovechkin-like numbers. He's the playmaker, and if he has a suitable partner that could bury or take pressure off, he could score more, which we're seeing with Horvat. I think the expectation, the overrated, is that he's supposed to be this 30 goals, 50 assists kind of guy every single year. And his game wasn't scoring. Now he has a ridiculous shot. He has to use it more. And I think with Horvat, you've seen that. But I think those expectations were a little too high on being a goal scorer, whereas he was never really that guy. He can be that guy, but
he could be. I mean, look at Panarin. Panarin never scored more than 30 goals, and then he made a point to shoot more. And what did he get last year?
No, that's an
they
important
both
point
had similar
that Stefen made too, because he has an excellent shot, and I'm always giving him a hard time for not shooting enough. And it's different because Islander fans used to get on Josh Bailey all the time for looking pass all the time, but I mean that was egregious. And Bailey doesn't have the shot that Matt Barzal has. So when he doesn't shoot, he's hurting his team. And then you see instances like that, Little Ed, when he's skating around the zone looking for that perfect play, that perfect setup, that perfect pass, where he might have just been able to unload a nice shot and either it goes in or he's creating a rebound for Horvat or whomever's there.
Bingo.
Right?
And I'm not trying to compare the two, but Kakko has a very similar problem where he holds on to the puck for that. He tries to beat that extra guy or tries to look for that perfect shot or whatever. Yeah.
I think the difference between Kakko, the reason you're not comparing them is obviously Barzal's way better than Kakko. So don't even respond to like that point. But the point that he's making
That's what I meant by not comparing.
No, I know, but like Kakko literally will hold the puck, and his puck possession analytics, I don't know Barzal's offhand, but Kakko's are like he's an elite player. Like if you look at his analytics, it's like he's this elite player, but he has no purpose with his game. And I feel like Barzal kind of is like that. At least in watching him like we do. Seems like he doesn't play with a purpose. He's just really talented.
Coach Ed actually watches a decent amount of Islander games. Like when the Rangers aren't playing, he'll throw the Islanders on for sure. I admittedly do not, but the games that I do watch, that's what I see.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Listen, guys, I got to take off and run to a hockey game. But
for sure,
appreciate you having me on. Sean,
thanks so much, buddy. I appreciate it.
Take care, bud.
We'll talk
That's
next
next time, buddy.
Everyone check out Stefen Rosner on X.
Ed, that logo looks great on your face there.
I know. Give me a second.
Perfect.
I'll put it on Sean's face for now. And then
all right. So moving off Barzal, I do want to talk a little bit about where you think the Islanders are going to be next season.
Sure.
I kind of mentioned this in passing, that a lot of teams in the Metro got better. The Rangers pretty much stayed the same. They added Riley Smith. Flyers get Michkov. They made some moves. Capitals improved. Devils get a goalie, 2 goalies, right? The Islanders, they had Duclair. It's really with Siplikov, right? But they didn't really do much else. So are they dropping in the standings, you think? If you had to say right now, like they're a bubble wildcard team, they're a playoff team, like in the top 3 of the division, or they're probably missed the playoffs, where would you put them?
I think they're going to be close to where they were last season. If I'm an optimist, I think they have a better shot of being a little more comfortable in the 3 spot. I think that, you have Carolina definitely took some losses this summer. I don't think they're going to be the powerhouse that they were. I'm very interested to see how they compare to the rest of the division once the season starts after the losses they suffered. I mean, they brought in a couple of guys, but they're not making up for the losses they got on a grand scale, right? So I think that's going to benefit the Isles, but I think the flip side to that is I think New Jersey is going to be a completely different team this season. I like the coaching change that they made. Obviously, they got their goaltender. I don't know if he was the best possible goaltender they could have gotten, but it's certainly going to improve the situation over there. I mean, they still have a very young, high-powered, talented team. So I think the Devils are going to probably be fighting for one of those top 3 spots. I mean, some would probably argue maybe even the top spot. So I think maybe you see a flip-flop between Carolina and New Jersey. I'm a little more nervous about Washington because of the moves they made, but I'm not scared. Pittsburgh, I'm not worried about. And then you got the rest of the division. I don't think I'm too worried about. So I think the Islanders are in that mushy place of 3rd or fighting for a wild card spot again. And it's really going to come down to, I think, yes, they brought in Duclair and we'll see what Siplikov can do. But I really do think that this is going to come down to Patrick Waugh. Because look, you look at those teams that Barry Trotz coached when they went to the conference finals, right? Going into those seasons, especially the first one, nobody sitting here was conference finals for these guys, no problem, right? And funny enough, they got bounced out by, Carolina in the second round his first year. And then it was like, okay, maybe they'll be in that same general spot. But I don't think any of us predicted the conference finals, but that was a win by committee team. And again, goaltending out. And sure, some of the personnel has changed. They don't have a Nick Leddy or a Devontae's puck moving on the defense. I think that's probably the biggest need for them right now. I mean, it's not a great look when you have Stefen, talking about Mike Riley being the best puck mover on the team, right? I mean, yes, he played well last season. He had a good year, but he's a bottom pairing defenseman at best. Yeah. Right. And you hope that a guy like Noah Dobson, as great as he's been on the offensive side of the puck, it's funny enough, he's still not so much known for carrying the puck, from the behind the blue line and zone entries and all that. You know what I mean? So they really,
he's like a Bouchard, like a at the point, clapper, not really.
Yeah, quarterback guy. Yeah, guy. Right. Yeah. So if they're going to transition the puck, if Riley's not in the ice, it's more for moving the puck, with passing than somebody skating it from end to end, right? So I think Patrick Waugh's training camp and him getting this team to win from goaltending and defense out again, like he's a different coach. He's not Barry Trotz, but I think we saw what Waugh can do in that regard last season, and they kind of have to hang their hopes on that again because, yeah, sure, they have probably the deepest top six they've had in maybe the last 2 to 3 years, right? With Duclair possibly being capable of being a top 3 guy because they're going to try to wedge him into that spot as much as possible. He has the speed to fly with Barzal. We know what Horvat can do. I mean, these are, 80-point players, right? Hopefully Duclair can, complement that. We saw what he did with Tampa after the deadline last year. He was nearly a point per game player. I've said it more than once, though. The guy was playing with Tampa, Kucherov, Stamkos, like, that's not the personnel he's going to have, with him on the Islanders. So
I like that move. I like that move a lot.
I think
he brings speed, man. Speed is important.
I think it has a lot of potential. We just have to see if they're able to tap into that. And then all of a sudden, that could be a game changer.
A guy like Barzal, for all the criticism we just gave him, like I said, he's super talented. Obviously, his speed is a big part of the reason that he controls the puck like he does. And a guy like Duclair can keep up with him. That's a good fit,
right.
Yeah. So in order to, like, one of the biggest problems when we're talking about the Rangers, for example, a lot of fans, they criticize like Kakko can't play with Zibanejad and Kreider, right? Like, why he had his opportunities. Well, that's just not a good fit for Kakko's game, right? Like, those guys are rush players. Kakko's a forechecker. You got to mesh guys in. So it's not always about putting the best player. A guy like Duclair, I think, might actually mesh well with Barzal on that line. So we'll see. I mean, a good move. I thought that was a good move. I don't know, Little Ed, did you like the Duclair move?
Yeah, I mean, it's the best move the Islanders have made in a while, in my opinion. I mean, Horvat, I guess, but in terms of like something that they need, a little bit more offensive scoring and speed, I think, like, it scares me a little bit. I mean, I love him as a player. I love him as a player. I kind of thought the Rangers were going to go after him. Thought that might have been a good fit for Zibanejad and Kreider, but it is what it is. We'll see what he does.
I think he has.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to root against him. Let's just say that.
I think he has the potential to kind of be the Jordan Eberle of that Barry Trotz squad. 50, 60-point guy playing with a guy like Barzal. Maybe has the speed. Maybe not the same style of player, but I think that's just. They lost him. Palmieri was supposed to fill that void. He didn't really have the regular seasons that matched up to Jordan Eberle. In fact, he had his best output last season once Waugh came in, like Stefan was talking about before. But I think finally you can look at the Islanders' top six and first time in the last 2 to 3 years where you could say, okay, those guys all belong in the top six for the most, especially if Siplikov pans out, right? Whereas last year they were trying to throw Cizikas up on the top line. They were trying to, they were experimenting with Fasching, Pierre Engvall. He might be on the second line. He might get demoted to the third line now, which isn't a bad thing. So there's definitely a situation now for the Islanders where like guys are much more where they're supposed to be, as opposed to trying to force, a square peg into a round hole. So as long as they stay healthy relatively, I think that they can certainly get by with the forwards that they have. And, if the goaltending is back to where it is and they buy into, a full season of Patrick Waugh, then I think they can be as good, if not better than they were last year.
Yeah, I think more important than the points, the impact Duclair has is he's a game breaker, and at any point in the game, no matter what the score, when he's on the ice, he can go end to end, and that's having that kind of speed is intimidating to play against. So every team needs at least 1 or 2 guys like that. I've been saying the Rangers need speed for a long time. We're lacking speed, but or maybe our guys just don't use it. But it's a good move. All right, Ed, we got to talk Rangers with Sean before we let Sean go. So let's do it. Listen. I think you can say I've been fair this episode. All right, so I expect the same.
I am impressed. Did you like eat a gummy before the show or something like that?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. But it's summer, I'm having a good time.
It's summer all year round for you. What do you mean it's summer?
That's true. So look, real talk. I don't think anyone predicted last season the Rangers would win the President's Trophy and pretty much be, a contender for the Stanley Cup. They were almost there, right? I mean, Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals. So it's pretty difficult to predict them topping that season. The only way you can really top that season is actually winning the Stanley Cup. I guess getting to the finals or winning the Stanley Cup, right?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts going into this season on the Rangers? Do you think they take a step back? Everyone's a little older, although the younger guys are a little more developed. So maybe that evens out. Shesterkin, unresolved contract situation. Does that factor in? Like, where do you think the Rangers end up going?
Well, I'll preface by using similar words that Little Ed used before. I don't watch a lot of Ranger games. I was dialed in during the playoffs. I know that to get that one in there. But listen, I think, just because of the President's Trophy and, how well that they did do last season, right? Chances are higher that they maybe not do as well as opposed to better, right? Like, that's just where the percentages lie. Does that mean they can improve upon last season? I'm not saying that at all. They certainly have the vast majority of the squad that they had last year, and they made some moves. So I think and this is to a much lesser degree. So I'm not doing apples to apples here, but like you look at a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? And you look at on paper, the names that they've had over the last, 5+ years, whatever it's been, right? Like, look at all that firepower, right? Look at all that depth. This is a team that should be able to smoke teams up, down, left, and right. Then they get to the playoffs, and as we all know, it's a different game, and they haven't been able to adapt. Now, the Rangers obviously have gone deeper, than the Maple Leafs had, and, forever. But it seems like, look, they come up against a team like Florida, and, not only do they have the talent, but I think they just have that jam up, down, left, and right. Like, and talents like Matt Tkachuk, they are not they're not common. It's not like you get guys like that can not only, be a bull, on the ice, but a bull on the puck too, and put up the points that he does, right? He's an all-around player. But when you have more guys that can fill out a roster of that ilk, and look, Islander fans going to talk about the Islanders, but I mean, look, the names weren't flashy on those Islander teams either, but they had that style of play that grinded them through to that Final Four, right? Now, they didn't have enough to do the whole thing, to get it all done, but I think that might be the sort of thing that the Rangers are missing, and that for some reason, like Zibanejad, excellent hockey player. Is he a playoff hockey player? I don't know. Chris Kreider was amazing in that series, particularly that last game against Carolina. But
Zibanejad was good in that series too. For some reason, not against Florida.
Yeah, and
that's as good as he could be.
It's the matchup sometimes too. Like one guy looks great against one team, plays another team, and they just don't have it. And maybe they're getting grinded down by that physical style. Maybe they're getting pushed to the perimeter of the ice because you have a defense in front of you that's not giving you that space. Whatever the case may be. But I just feel like if there is an Achilles heel for the Rangers, and being again a much more uneducated onlooker, I think it may just be they're missing that just jam, that killer instinct, that playoff style of player that's going to escalate them to that next level.
Yep.
Agreed.
I agree with that. I think the Rangers, Little Ed, I think they actually, unlike Toronto, I think the Rangers actually have a little bit of that. And that's why they're able to win a couple of series, but then they run into an opponent like Tampa or Florida who they just can't match up that jam with, and they get knocked out. And that's, they have a little bit of Sean, it. You see it, but Kreider's hat trick in the third, and that's jam right there,
Yeah.
They have it.
Mm-hmm. Different.
No, he willed that team to that win in that game. I mean, that's showing up in the playoffs. That's willing your team to win. That's grinding through all the toughest hockey of the year, right? During the playoffs, but you need that coming from the vast majority of your guys nearly all times. Unless it's just a complete imbalance of talent. You can coast through a team or two maybe in the early rounds, but you get to those later rounds and you get these well-rounded teams that that can just grind you down into the ice, bang you in the corners, and it takes its toll. And maybe some of these players are the type of guys that can do it. Maybe they had to go through the grind to learn it, right, and to get used to it. You look back at when the Oilers, when they started winning their cups, they always said, "Oh yeah, we learned from the Islanders. We learned what it takes." We saw when we passed their locker room, they were, they had ice in their faces and they're bleeding and bruises and stuff, and they had to learn how to play playoff hockey. I mean, maybe that's something that the Rangers are still working on. I mean, you guys would know better than me if you think that they're the type of guys that can get over that hump, or if they need to, restructure things a little more.
Go ahead, little Ed. I'm not
No, I think they got one more chance to like you said, kind of learn from the past a little bit, and hopefully play a little bit more of a chip on your shoulder. But you mentioned like Matty Tkachuk, like he was kind of quiet during the Rangers series, but it's just that culture that he brings.
Yes,
like he definitely wasn't quiet in the locker room, I'm sure.
Right.
And in between periods and on the bench,
like a shot,
Right, and
he was quiet on the score sheet. He wasn't like,
but he's still drawing attention away from.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, whether he's putting the puck in the net or not, he's still causing a big problem.
Yeah, but he's the one that brings the culture, brings that mentality. If our assistant captain is going to be doing everything he can, going into corners head first, whatever, blah blah blah, then I'm going to do the same thing. And then you have Barkov just leading by a different kind of example, and also doing that. I'm not going in the corner against Barkov. Like, up and down the roster, we talked about it. Yeah, that's the type of team that you need to win, and that type of mentality. The Rangers have the players, but it's time for them to step up and actually do that. We talk about Fox all the time, going into series healthy and also being a little bit more gritty. No secret to Zibanejad has to do it 100% at all times. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, whereas these players have to either step up or something's got to change and kind of start a little fresh, but it's good to see that the young players are stepping up and kind of playing that playoff style hockey, though.
Yeah, you guys got a super talented team, and hopefully those younger guys learn from it. I mean, there's no better lesson than going deep on a playoff run and falling short, because it makes you hungrier for that next time, and you learn from what you didn't do or did do, in that last time around. So, you just got to hope for your sake that the Rangers are able to do that, because obviously they're going to be there again. They're going to be a top team in the Metro. They're going to probably be a top team in the East again. It's just a matter of, how far they can take it. And as you know, President's trophies mean nothing. It's a matter of just getting into the playoffs with the right team and hitting your stride at the right time and being able to play that playoff style hockey. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and I think they'll be a top 3 team in the Metro. Like you said, I think Carolina takes a step back. Maybe New Jersey enters there. The Islanders and Capitals will compete, but I see the Rangers still being in the upper echelon of the Metro with their team. So, especially with Igor. So we'll see. We'll see where they end up. But so I want to address this comment you made about you watched the Rangers playoff games last year. So let's finally get to it.
Sure.
All right. Dude, I just gotta say,
I should have queued up. I should have queued it up, man.
I just gotta say, all right. When the Islanders are eliminated, from the playoffs, and the Rangers are playing, what prompts you to sit there and live tweet jabs at the Rangers throughout the game? Because I'll tell you something. When it was reversed, there's no way that I care enough to sit there and be like, Islanders suck. They gave up a goal. Islanders.
Well, I never said anything like that, first of all.
Oh, no. What was the tweet? I forgot. I don't even remember at this point.
It was during the Carolina series.
You were like, that's a shame.
I was having fun with them coming back.
When
they made it 3-2. Yes. When they made it 3-2, and I was like, "Oh, Ranger fans are getting nervous." It was just something like that, and you must have caught. Like, come on, man, the Islanders aren't even playing anymore. And I'm like, "No, they're not. They're not. I'm just having some fun." I think I responded.
I didn't say to that
so
voice, but okay.
I don't know. That's how I pictured it.
I don't know how to work X. I'm trying to find the tweet, but
I don't remember. I probably should have looked this up before, and because I'm remembering now. Yeah, it had to do with the reverse sweep, and I just thought, I'm like, wow,
because funny too. It might have been like before that third period for Kreider, like where I was like, oh man, this might be happening. You know what I mean? Like they might tie it up. And
you weren't the only one thinking that.
Right.
I don't think I was
sure.
in the condition. I don't think I was in the condition to even respond to a tweet at that moment. So I don't think it was.
Oh,
I
I'm
think
sure
you
were
sent,
on
and then
edge.
you
I'm-
sent it to the group chat, and you were like, "Can you believe this kid?"
and the great thing is, like, I was just laughing the whole way through it. I was like, this guy can't be serious. So it's like, I was like, come on, I'm just having some fun here. Because, like, I don't,
of course I was
at the end of the
serious.
day, I don't care, you know? But,
Oh yeah,
so
you don't
funny.
care if the Rangers won the Stanley Cup. You wouldn't care.
Ooh, that's a different thing from the Rangers winning against Carolina and winning the
So
Stanley
you
Cup.
want the Rangers to be eliminated quickly, so you don't have to worry about the Rangers winning the cup, right? I mean, when the I'll tell you,
let's talk
when the Islanders
specifically
won-
about that circumstance. Let's face it. It would have tickled me a little bit if Carolina managed to pull off the reverse sweep, right? I mean, you watching the Islanders and like, that's pretty cool if it happened to them, right? So I was kind of like,
Of
yeah,
course.
that'd be cool. You know, listen, you guys can get as close to the Stanley. You guys can go to quadruple overtime in Game 7 of the finals. But I'm always going to prefer, unless it's the Toronto Maple Leafs, which can't happen. I'd always prefer that you guys probably don't win, just because I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear the garbage that's going to come from, Manhattan and beyond for the next 15, 20 years, That said, if the Islanders won the cup and then you guys win the next year after, have at it. That's fine. I just want my one. You guys had 94.
Well, that's what I've been saying too. I just want my one, but I can't agree to an Islanders cup, right? Little Ed, I mean,
I'm not asking you to. I wouldn't expect you to.
Right.
But I didn't have my 94, man. I was like just out of the womb, I think, when 83 happened.
I was 8 years old in 94, dude.
It was 8 years old.
All right, here it is. Gotta be a little doubt creeping in.
That's
my bad. Gotta be a little doubt creeping in now with the series going back to Carolina.
There you go.
Right.
That's all it was.
Lame. Your team is posting off-season decision threads. You're better than this.
You're better. That was what got me. You're better than this. Like I committed some heinous crime.
Oh my god. I'm not wrong though. You guys were doing episodes about like, should the Islanders keep this guy, and we're rooting for our team to win the cup, and you're like, oh, hey, Rangers fans.
I don't think I was doing that, but that's fair. Whatever you like.
I'm telling you, look at the posts from Islanders media around that time of your tweet, and it's all off-season decisions.
Wasn't me. That's all I'm saying.
Listen, it's all in good fun. You got to me a little bit. I thought it was lame.
Oh, I know, and I kind of loved it.
It was lame. It was lame. But we'll see. We'll see when the Islanders in the playoffs if I can return the favor. But
in Cousin Ed's defense, May 13th, posted by Sean Hockey. Going to be an interesting summer. What would you like to see Lou and Wad do to improve the roster?
Right, there you go.
All right, there you go.
And that was actually the same day that you
Thank
tweeted
you.
the Rangers.
Okay, maybe it was.
And I probably liked that post.
Yeah.
I probably retweeted it.
Oh, well, now I feel terrible. I was having fun, man. I know you weren't having fun at the time.
I think we need more of it. I think we need more of it.
Why
Yeah,
not?
no, it's all fun. It's all fun.
Yeah.
People helping people.
Let me ask you this: the whole cry thing with Carolina. Remember they posted like cry
about that. Yes.
And then you guys kind of used that against them when the Rangers won. You guys meaning Islanders Twitter.
Islander fans, right. When the Rangers, yeah, because
what a
after
weird
they
dynamic,
lost,
right?
after they lost, they put the camera on that kid. That was great.
That poor kid, man.
Poetic, yeah. Terrible for the kid, awful for the kid, but like for Carolina and their fan base, like poetic justice. Like that was incredible.
And then I saw Islanders Twitter go after them. Yeah. With cry. So it's almost like were Islanders fans a little bit happy that Carolina lost? It's like a lose-lose for you, right? Like Rangers win, then the Rangers won. You don't want that. If Carolina won, then you guys hate Carolina at this point, right? I'm sure. Because they keep beating.
I'm a little different, but yeah, but like I don't have. It's weird. Like I don't have some like internal hatred for the Carolina Hurricanes. Like we come up against them and they have our number, but like I don't have some like weird hatred for them.
Right.
Like they're a good team and they beat us. You know what I mean? Like I still hate the Toronto Maple Leafs because Darcy Tucker and Gary Roberts took out Mike Peck and Kenny Janssen that 7-game series to win it.
I mean I
You
mean,
know
that
what I
team
mean?
is-
Like,
yeah, but that team was never going to win. So, like,
all
what do you
right,
care?
okay, all right.
Is that the Alexei Yashin team, or is
That's
that after?
that's another conversation. We don't have time for this, but anyway, like it's not like Carolina were like taking guys out, and like they were just a more talented team, and they beat the
Right.
and they played the Islanders' style of play better, even when Trops was there, right? They just knew how to play a defensive style of hockey or whatever it is. But
You think if the Islanders drew the Rangers round one and Carolina drew Washington, that the Islanders would have beat the Rangers in the first round?
I went into the playoffs saying that I think the Islanders would have had a better chance against the Rangers. I do. I think they matched up better against the Rangers. Just
Played tough
knowing
at
what
the end of the
Carolina's been able to do to the Islanders. I think that's not me saying, oh, the Islanders would have won the series, but I certainly would have thought they had a better chance without question.
It's also like the emotion that goes into the Islanders Rangers series. I mean, it's just no matter how good either team is, I feel like it's always going to be a close game or always going to be somewhat of a coin flip.
Yeah, except
like,
in *94 when it was like 6-0, 6-0, 5-1.
I don't remember that year. Wasn't there a pandemic that year or something?
But I think the year before, 2 years before that, right? Did the Islanders play the Rangers?
The year before. Oh,
2 years.
Oh,
the year before the Rangers missed the playoffs. Yeah, I don't know. Did they?
The Islanders went to the conference finals the year before, but they didn't.
Did
play
they
the
play
Rangers.
that year? No, they didn't.
No. The Islanders went through Washington, Pittsburgh, and then they lost to Montreal. But I think you're right. I think like 2 years ago, maybe it was 91, 92.
I think they played that year,
met
right?
in the playoffs. I think so. Or 90, 91. Now we're getting into when I was like 9, 10 years old. So I'm not exactly sure. But
is that the last time they played?
94. 94.
In the playoffs. Last playoff.
30 years. 30 years. The last time they played in the playoffs. I'm dying for an Islander Ranger playoff series.
Yeah, hopefully soon.
2015, I thought we were going to have an amazing second round when the Isles went to 7 against the Caps and they lost to the Caps in Game 7. You guys drew the Caps the next round. I thought we were going to see a real good Islander Ranger battle that year. Like that would have been a series. That could have gone either way. Like they were both talented enough, but the Islanders didn't show up in Game 7 except for Jarro Halak, and they lost to the Caps. So that dream was dead. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens this year. You said you were pretty fair. I'll give it to you. Pretty fair this episode. I'll be monitoring the X posts, the Twitter posts on.
I hope you do. We'll have some fun with it. But
I'll be monitoring and seeing how fair you are. Yeah.
We'll see how lame or not I am. Yeah.
Is there any big games on the calendar this year, Rangers Islanders, or no? Just regular. I didn't even.
There's no Stadium Series game where you guys are going to come back from a third period 3-goal lead in front of 80,000 people. That's not
in 20-degree weather.
Yeah,
and score with a net knocked off in overtime.
That's a step in the right direction.
What a way to end that game, right? That was amazing.
Well, last year we had the St. Patrick's Day game as well. That was fun.
Yes, the St. Patrick's
I don't believe
Day
we
game.
have that.
No, I think they're just ordinary dates. I still haven't really studied the schedule yet, if I'm being perfectly honest. But
I know I have tickets to one of the games. Level. I'm not sure what the date is, but no, we'll do some content. Maybe do a show or two.
Of course,
it'll be fun.
We got to collab for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious now though. While I got you, before I let you go, let's see, real quick. I got it open here. God, they don't play enough games against the Islanders. They play November 3rd at the Garden on an afternoon game. That'll be great. And then they don't play again until 2025.
That's so weird. And like this past season, they didn't play at all in the calendar year, I think, of 2023. Until 2024, they lumped them all into the end of the schedule. And I don't get it.
February 25th at the Islanders, and then March 3rd on Monday at the Garden.
Tickets to that game.
Okay.
And then at the Islanders, April 10th on a Thursday. So not much going on, but we'll make something happen.
Could be a playoff.
Hopefully that April 10th game means something. Yeah, that could be cool. Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe we'll try and snag tickets to UBS for that one.
You might be able to get them for $7. We'll see.
At that point in the season.
Sean, thanks so much for coming on.
Fellas, always a pleasure.
Yeah,
always
man.
a pleasure having you guys. Looking forward
Had
to
a
another
blast.
fun year, and good luck. Good luck with the show this season.
Thanks, buddy.
You
got
too.
it.
Later,
We'll see
bro.
you soon.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
All right, that was Sean Cuthbert and Stefen Rosner with Hockey Night New York. Check them out, as we said, on X at Stefen_Rosner, STEFEN, and at Shawnee, SEANY hockey, and Hockey Night NY. I
Did you
saw
see
it, by
that?
the way. I don't know if you noticed, though. I don't know if you noticed. Can you get that logo off me, please?
Yeah, he's giving you the thumbs up from backstage.
It's too high. It's too Islander related. I need that logo off me. Thank you. Always fun having them on. And now that he's backstage and can't respond, I will say he did get to me a little bit with that post, but it is kind of lame to do that when your team is out of the playoffs and you're doing off-season threads. Come on. Like I wouldn't even bother unless it happened. Like once the reverse sweep happened, I think it's all fair. At that point, you make the comment and take the jab. But
yeah, once both teams are eliminated and both are on the golf course, you could take the jab.
Right, like if Carolina actually completed the comeback and 1-7,
I don't know what
then
he's showing
then
you
I
something backstage. Should we add him back?
I already said goodbye to him. This is supposed to be my free time to just, you can bring him back on though. Let him
He's gone. He's gone. He'll text it to us.
So my point is, once it's over, I think then you take the jab and say, "Wow, Rangers!"
Right.
But we're
see you on the golf course or something.
Yeah, I'm going through Twitter as part of my role for this. I'm forced to look at Twitter after these playoff losses. I don't want to look at it. You think I want to sit there and read how the Rangers are going to collapse every single day? And then I see this kid post and it just got me. I was like, no, absolutely not. You're not.
You got to see it. We got to see it from his perspective, though. He's trying to rally the Islander fans behind him. He's trying to get those clicks, trying to get those follow requests.
But it's
but that's just the type. But that's the type of fans they are.
I know.
That's how it's always been.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's like little brother syndrome. They're sitting there
because
I gotta watch the Rangers Hurricanes and the Rangers are gonna lose. Thank God the Panthers beat them.
And us and our fan base is very normal and sane for sure. So
no, our fan base is more introspectively crazy. They think they're the best team in the league, and that they're just and they are crazy about rooting against the Rangers. We think we're the worst team in the league.
Right.
And honestly, don't care. I don't sit when I was in the playoffs, I'm not sitting there watching, I watch the games because they're like hockey, but I'm not sitting there oh, they won. Oh my God. Until they actually win, if they're in the finals, I'll do that. Maybe
that's
I'll
a
be
different
worried.
Story.
But anyway,
I
week?
can't say that I'm watching an Islander game and rooting for the Islanders or not rooting against them, I should say. I mean, I definitely don't want to see them do well.
But you're not sitting there if the Islanders win game one.
I'm not angry tweeting. No, I'm not angry.
Exactly. The Islanders win game one. They win game two. Okay, whatever. I'm damn, But I'm not sitting there oh my God. You just know that every goal cried or scores that they're sitting there oh.
I know.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of
how
it's
going to be tough to root against Duclair. What?
It's kind of like how Met fans are with the Yankees. Growing up, there's a little bit of this jealousy that Met fans have towards the Yankees, and they just hate the Yankees. I always said why do you hate the Yankees? I like the Mets.
They used to get all the free agents. They used to win the championships.
But I never hated the Yankees. I don't care. I mean, I hated them for 2 years. There was a 2-year window where I hated the Yankees. It was when they beat the Mets in the World Series in 2000.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
But it was whatever. It is what it is.
It is what it is. It's a much different relationship. I mean, it's also what sport you take the most serious. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, baseball is much different. But yeah.
I'm just saying the mentality of the little brother.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the little brother mentality. Devils have it too. Devils fans are obsessed with the Rangers. Obsessed. They're obsessed with the Rangers failing. They just need the Rangers to fail,
Yeah, I'll get into more Twitter battles with Devils fans next year. And,
I feel the Devils want the Rangers to lose more than they want the Devils to win. It's like more important
Probably.
to them that the Rangers lose than the Devils win.
That's probably pretty accurate, I would say. Yeah. Yeah. Well, looking ahead, we got Neil next week, right? We got Neil next week. Devil State of Mind next Monday, same time, same place, 8:00.
All right,
YouTube.
that'll be a good one.
YouTube, X, and what am I missing?
Instagram.
And wait, no, next weekend is not Labor Day. That's the weekend after. Right? Yes.
No,
Yeah,
that's
so we'll
the
be
week
taking
after.
so next weekend is Devil State of Mind. Week after we'll be taking off for Labor Day, and then we'll be coming back with Boston, right? And then we'll be ending it with Pittsburgh. Still haven't heard back from the Carolina podcast. Maybe we'll be sneaking them in at the tail end of the rivalry tour, but as of now, we'll be finishing it off in Pittsburgh. So yeah, looking forward to the rest of it.
And then it's pretty much hockey season.
So far, so good for the Rangers. Not a lot of competition in the Metro so far. Definitely not in Philadelphia or Long Island. We'll see what Neil has to say next week in New Jersey.
Yeah, I feel like I've just tried to avoid the internet related to the Rangers because a lot of Rangers fans are doom and gloom. I know we were chatting with Nikki Blogs, BroadwayBreakdown.com. By the way, his summer articles have been great on baseball. College football is coming around the corner, so he's doing a great job. But we were talking about the Rangers, and he's kind of vibing that too. But it's coming positive now. I'm starting to like turn myself into getting excited for next season and not so much think about the failures of last year. So I don't want to look at it. So it's hard because I'm not really being so active on the podcast Twitter, but it's because it's like I need to separate myself a little.
No, we all need to take a break.
I'm excited for training camp and to finish up the rivalry tour. We got some good things coming this year. And Coach Ed will be back next week. Don't worry, it's not a 2-week Disney trip for him.
I don't think he can handle that.
Yeah. So, all right. I'm looking forward to next week. We got Neil, Devil State of Mind. Guys, tune in next week, 8 p.m.
That's it. Love you guys. Let's go Rangers.
Love you, kid.